Well, at ease, paratroopers. If you like that reference from HBO's hit series Band of Brothers, you're going to like this podcast. My name is Kevin Kidder, and after 20 years in the Army, I discovered something unexpected. The toughest battles weren't behind me, they were just different. This is the Enduring Mindset Podcast. In our inaugural season, The Invisible Veteran, we'll explore what it really takes to reclaim purpose, rebuild identity, and restore connection after service. This podcast isn't just for veterans, it's for anyone navigating transition leaders, spouses, teammates, anyone asking, who am I now and what comes next? Each week, I'll share lessons from my journey, stories from others who walk similar paths, and tools to help you build what I call an enduring mindset, one forged through adversity, guided by purpose, and grounded in service to others. Before we dive in, I just want to thank you for being here. I know there are literally thousands of other things you could be listening to, and the fact you chose this podcast means a lot. My hope is that you walk away each week with something useful, a story, a reminder, or even a little encouragement. Today, I'm joined by someone I've known a long time and have a tremendous amount of respect for, former Army Sergeant and current Department of the Army Civilian Police Traffic Sergeant, Albert Owens. Albert grew up in San Diego, served 6.5 years in the Army as a military police soldier in Hawaii and Georgia, deployed twice to Iraq in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom. He then went on to earn his bachelor's degree in healthcare administration, and today he continues his service as a DA civilian police sergeant. He's also a husband to an incredible and gorgeous wife and a father to two ginger-headed boys, living life with that same steady sense of purpose he brought to his time in uniform. This conversation is about transition, identity, leadership, and the power of community. Albert opens up about his journey after the Army, the challenges he faced, and the lessons he passes on to his family and the people around him. Let's get into it. Dude, I cannot tell you how happy my heart is right now to have you on the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, brother. Thanks for having me.
So the format that I use right now is I kind of explain how we met, paint a mental image, and then try to share a story so the listener can get a sense of like our relationship. Does that make sense? So we met, I would say, 18 years ago in Hawaii. I came over from the detachment. We were gearing up for deployment to Iraq, and you were the commander's driver. I took over the squad leader, and I kind of knew you from the hallways and stuff, but as soon as I met you, dude, like I fell in love with you. You're just hilarious. Like you reminded me of like how I wanted to be, like, which is really good at my job, really fit, but like nothing bothered you. You just always had a joke and a smile, and it wasn't that you didn't take things serious. It's just you didn't let things bother you. You didn't let it dampen the mood. And I was just like, dude, I want to be around this guy all the time. And then luckily when like, okay, we're going over, I don't think anybody wants Kidder. We're going to stick him at headquarters. So
Yeah, because you were in first platoon first, right?
yeah.
Yeah, and then they brought you over.
Yeah. But I loved it, dude. Like I was just instantly drawn to you, and I could see how you interacted with her because that squad wasn't just MPs. We had all different kinds of MOSs, which I think made us incredible, especially once we got boots on ground in Iraq. But yeah, I was instantly drawn to you, and I'm so glad we've remained friends for, the last 18 years.
Yeah, well, I mean, thanks for fluffing me up.
There's no fluff. I don't do that. As for the mental image, so if John Cicada and Schmeagol had a baby, no, I'm just kidding. I would say if Paul Rudd and Michael Pena had a kid, just, you're just this gorgeous caramel macchiato skin with your Hispanic heritage, but you age like Paul Rudd, dude. Like you're a handsome dude. Like I showed my wife a picture and she's like, oh, I was like, okay, well, she's not looking at this anymore. But no, there's a picture of you and your wife. I think it was on your anniversary. She's got like a blue dress and you've got a white shirt and black slacks. And you guys just look like supermodels, and you're just, you're both very beautiful human beings. And I think that's the beauty on the inside that exudes on the outside.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. I really struggled to find a story because I don't think you and I occupied the same space a lot of the time. Um,
Yeah, because we also lived in different quarters in the dungeon. Like we were in opposite rooms. So
yep. But what I remember most is how you took care of me after missions. Um, I had paperwork to do and all this stuff. And you always went to the chow hall because for some reason we would always come as chow was ending or whatever. You guys would get me a plate and you would get me a Diet Pepsi, and which was like my crack. I tried to Caitlin's like Coke products are so much better. I was like, no, it's inferior. Like I like Diet Pepsi. Like if anybody from PepsiCo is listening, I'm wildly open to a sponsorship.
it's like it's like Raiders fans, man. You have to you hate it or love it.
Right? But like that's when my addiction began. But I was just like, dude, that's who Owens was. That's who he was. He was the guy who never asked for anything, and he always looked for a way to help others. And I think we were just talking about, I think about 7 years ago, when I was at Bragg, we came over to do the Christmas wreath layings, and you were working, and we are texting. Like, I found you at the gate, you were working, dude. And I just like, I saw that smile from 100 yards away, and I felt giddy, man. I felt like I was on a first date. Like, I was like, I love this guy so much. I haven't seen him in so long, and he gave me a big hug, and it was awesome. And then here we are again. It's been, 7, 8 years since I've seen you, but this is incredible. And I'm so happy to have a conversation because I think you have a really compelling and unique story that is going to resonate with our listeners.
Yeah, it's definitely not easy. But I mean, when you asked me to do this, I was like, me? Why? Why me? But yeah, I'm glad I got to do it though. At least at the very least, if I don't have a great story, at least I got to talk to you.
But yeah, absolutely. And you do have a good story. That's one thing I'm finding, man. Like the more people I talk to, like, oh, my story's not that cool. I'm like, yes, it is. Like I said it in my very first episode when I kind of introduce myself to the listeners. Like we're not operators. We don't have, movie right stories, but we have unique experiences that are interwoven into a lot of people who, when it's time to get out of the military or those first couple of years out, it's difficult. And I think that makes it relatable, which is how we can help people.
Yeah, and everyone's got a different path, story, circumstances, and like it might be so easier for others, but like sometimes it just doesn't go your way, and you're like, why? So, um, and I noticed that when I talked to some people because I thought I was the only one struggling, but then I talked to a few other guys, and they had some other issues they're dealing with. It wasn't the same thing I was dealing with, but it was still a struggle. But yeah, definitely not. It's definitely not what you think it's going to be when you get out. Um, and things hit you differently, and you're like, I did not see that coming. And I think Mike Tyson said it best when I think he said, everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, like, I got punched in the face pretty good a few times, and I'm like, what? I gotta regroup, recalculate, um, adjust my T&E, and then keep firing because I was like, this is. I'm just looking around like, is this real life? Because I mean, I'm getting ahead of myself, but like, you know, after getting a degree and then working at a preschool that I mean, I'm glad I got the job because I couldn't find anything else, but making 13.50 an hour in California, um, and I'm just like, what am I doing? So yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, in April earlier this year, I was at a conference in Los Angeles, and the first breakout session I went to was held by Brett Ledbetter, and he's a mental performance coach. So, like Paige Beckers, um, I think Caitlin Clark, but I know Paige Beckers is someone that he works with. He was working with her during the national championship, and
Okay.
so he's an author, speaker. Um, his breakout session was how to ask better questions, and then afterwards I got to meet him and talk to him, and um, he gave me an idea, and I've kind of made it my own, which is I bought his book, which he plugged, which is 365 questions to get to know yourself and your team better. And once I decided on the podcast, I was like, I'm going to have every guest pick a number between 1 and 365, and I'll open it to that number and ask them a question. So we get a real, authentic answer, like unscripted. So, are you ready for yours?
Yeah, maybe.
You're
No.
good. This is a good one. I like this one. It says, "What consequence have you experienced in your life that gave you invaluable insight, like the most valuable insight?"
I think because it happened multiple times was just kind of like not looking at like what I'm doing, and looking at like what God's doing.
Hmm.
And like the consequences that I've had, like the decisions that I make or like the plans that I make and they fail. And then I kind of look at God like, what, why? And it's like, it's because it wasn't his timing or wasn't what he wanted. So like that was a big one for me, especially when I wasn't a believer at the time. I mean, I believed in God, it's just I didn't have a relationship with him. But um, those consequences that I created for myself um, were of my own doing. And it's like, I guess, creating my own demise, and not trusting in his timing and stuff like that. Like the things that happen, like were always not at the right time for me. But then in
Hmm.
hindsight, you look back and you're like, oh, that was the way it was supposed to happen, or that was the timing it was supposed to be. Especially when you're at a point in your life when you're doing things and you feel like you're on the right track and you're looking at around you and you're like, why am I not here there? Why am I not there yet? Why am I not here yet? Um, and like you feel like you're doing the wrong thing. Um, I think that, uh, and then I think the biggest thing is like doing that, like what if, or like
Mm,
what if I would have stayed in? What if I would have gone to school earlier? What if I would have applied to this job, or what if I would have pursued this more? But I think the biggest one for me that I go back to that I just still talk about to this day, I don't know why, because I'm masochistic, is like I'm like, why? What if I would have stayed in? I'm like, I could have retired last year.
hmm.
I could have had this retirement on top of my disability, and I could have had a more secure life and future for my kids and my family. And then, I mean, I feel like a lot of people always bring it back to the like, yeah, but you wouldn't have your kids and your family,
Right.
or you wouldn't have the things you have now, or you wouldn't be where you're at now. And they're like, as rough as life gets now, like, can't imagine not having it. And if I would have made those decisions, I probably would have never met my wife. I would have never had my kids. Who knows? Like, especially when I was still in, and I just got divorced, and I was becoming a degenerate, and and like just drinking a lot. And then I'm like, maybe I would have got NJP'd for being an idiot,
Right.
or gone on deployment where I didn't come back, or just got into something. I don't know. So
Yeah.
maybe it's
No.
a good thing I didn't go that way. So
Yeah. The saying comparison is the thief of joy. And then I love that you open up so vulnerable with learning how to hear God's voice and trust his will and trust his timing. Because I'm 44 and I'm telling you, like, I've gone to church and I've believed in God much like you, but I didn't have a relationship with him till about, I don't know, 2 months ago. We're in October, so 3 months ago in July when we first moved to Arizona. The relationship started building probably a year or two ago, but for me to be in the environment and the situation to open up my heart, my eyes, and my ears to God didn't really happen until July. So, like, just like you said, the one thing I've learned recently is just like, okay, I'm kind of like Matthew McConaughey and Dazed and Confused. I'm just like, all right, like it's not everything happens for a reason. It's I don't understand his timing or his will, and it's not my place. But if I can pray on it and hopefully hear and see and do the things that he's calling me to do, then I'm okay with that.
yeah, and then I mean that's why I'm like super. I wasn't surprised that you kind of went down this route of writing this book and like starting this podcast and like outreach and growth for yourself, but for helping others, because like that's right up your alley. Because you've always had that mentality, especially as a platoon daddy.
Thank you.
So like it definitely didn't surprise me, and I'm glad, and I feel like you kind of found your groove and like your passion, and I'm glad these doors are opening for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. But we're here for you, not me. So I'm sure the listeners like, dude, I love this voice. He should probably be like a voice actor. So we got to get you, we got to find somebody who wants to do some cartoons or some radio or DJing on the side. That way we can combat the government shutdown right now. Make some extra scratch. So tell us a little bit about yourself. What was life like growing up for you? How'd you make the decision to join the army?
It was pretty easy. I was dumb, young and dumb, and didn't have a lot of direction in my life. I grew up pretty not poor, but we didn't have a lot growing up. We actually had to move to Mexico for like 3 years and live in my mom's childhood home for like 3 years when I was younger. And I remember like having a concrete for a bathroom and heating up, you know, um, bathtub water on the stove because we didn't have a water
Mm.
heater. So like it was pretty rough. And then we moved back and like lived with my grandma for a little bit, and we always didn't really have much. But for what my parents had and what they made it work. But this was also the 80s and 90s where you can make a lot more. You can go a lot more with your money back then.
Oh,
And
yeah.
my dad took us across the border on his motorcycle to school, so you can't do that nowadays with two kids on your motorcycle. um, but yeah, we didn't have much, and I didn't have the best relationship with my dad, so like I didn't have that fatherly direction. And I met my then ex-wife at Costco, and then my mom kind of had to sit down like, if you like this girl and you want to provide for her later, like, what are you doing with your life? And I kind of was like, I don't know, because I was taking college classes, but I was dropping them and I wasn't taking it seriously. And the money I was making, I was just using it to, go to small concerts and hang out with my friends. I wasn't really taking anything seriously. But I mean, I was 18, 19, so I kind of made that decision. Like I was driving by the recruiting office and with my then ex-wife and stopped in, and I was gonna join the Marines, but the dude stood me up. The recruiter stood me up, and the army recruiter was outside, and he's like, "What are you looking for?" I'm like, Staff Sergeant Rodriguez." He's like, yeah, you don't want to talk to that guy." He's like, "You want to do something cool?" I'm like, "Yeah." I was like a recruiter's dream, man. Like I was 18, 19, no record. I could run like the wind, and I was willing to do anything. So, um, yeah, he pulled me in, and then I was like, it kind of sucked because he was like, "What do you want to do?" And I'm like, "I don't know, something cool." And I was looking at a thing or a pamphlet he had out, and I was like, "How about this?" And I was like, I think it was like ADA. And he's like, "No, we're phasing that out." And I was like, "Ah." And I'm like, "Oh, what about this one?" It's like a Bradley crew member. He's like, "No, we're phasing that out." And I'm like, "Dang it." He's like, "Let me show you this cool video." It's like MP video, and I'm like, "That looks dope." And it wasn't like the video.
Right? No, yeah, the video got me. Like, I wanted to be a cop and I knew I wanted to be an MP. But yeah, the
Yeah.
video was hype. Whoever did that back in the day, bravo to you, sir, or ma'am, or sergeant. Like, it was phenomenal. And mine was the other way. Like, when I went to the recruiting station, we had them all in like this big trailer. And I wanted Air Force, man. I was going to be a pilot. I was going to be Bradley Cooper and Top Gun. And I know they're Navy, but I'm like, I was going to go fly. I didn't know how anything worked. And they weren't there. The Navy was never an option. I'm not like I've gone on cruises, but I'm not built to be over like the abyss. That's not happening. So it was like Marines or Army. And this is, I'm 19. I'm in college. I have my Backstreet Boy bleached frosted tips, my earrings,
Oh
and
man.
the Marine recruiter comes out. He's like, "Come here, boy." I was like, "Fuck you, dude." And I ran into the Army recruiting office because the Air Force was closed. So I just was like, "Okay, I'm going this way."
I just pictured your frosted tips and
Dude, I was
did you have
styling, man.
the puka shell necklace too?
Of course. Okay, like, okay, Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, like, who do the girls love? Oh, the puka shell, like Hawaiian shirt. Dude, I bought Abercrombie. I was so insecure with myself. It was so funny. So speaking specifically about Hawaii, not deployments or anything, what do you remember most about Hawaii? Because that's a pretty epic duty station, and I know I thoroughly enjoyed being stationed there. Like, what do you remember? Is it the camaraderie, the culture, the unit? When it pops in your brain, what do you see? What do you remember?
Uh, I think I just remember because everyone remembers their first unit, you know.
Hmm.
And I think it was the camaraderie, the guys I met, like, because I met guys in Stewart and stuff, and like, but I don't really keep in contact with them, and we're not close. It's always that first unit vibe. And I know it wasn't yours. I think you were at Bragg first. Uh, Lewis, yeah, yeah. So like for me, it was my first duty station, and I was 19, away from home, and on an island. Um, but I remember I fell in love with the culture because I grew up in San Diego, so like I grew up by the beach. I like snowboarding better than surfing, but um, I think it was the vibe and the culture. Like you could be at work, you know, in the field, getting red clay stains on your uniform one
Oh,
second, and then the next day you're on the beach chilling like you're on vacation. And I think like that atmosphere is crazy because you can't really get that at a lot of other duty stations. I'm pretty sure you can get that at like Oki and maybe some other places, but like that tropical island vibe where like
hmm.
time doesn't matter and you're like I can be here all day and like just lose track of time. And um the culture was dope. Like I love the culture and like learning um the history and pigeon
Right,
uh and getting into the music and just kind of like having all that on my playlist and just immersing myself in the Hawaiian culture, which is really fun. Um, and I always kept that low profile, low fade that was like barely in regs.
right.
So when I was off, so when I was off duty or whatever, I wouldn't look too much like a haole.
Sorry, my dogs are going nuts.
No, you're good.
um, yeah, I definitely loved the culture. Um, just the Polynesian culture. Like we lived on HMR by the Dole Plantation, so we would run through the pineapple fields, and if on a good day you could look down and you could see the crests of the waves at North Shore, and like I love going down to North Shore. Stortos for Mexican food. No, I'm sorry, cholos for Mexican, stortos for sandwiches. Just the shack in Mililani, like the food, the people, the culture. You're living in paradise. It was awesome.
Yeah, and like I remember that shave ice place, Aoki's,
Oh yeah,
down in North Shore. Like it's just the best. Um, but yeah, the food was phenomenal. I mean, uh, getting spam musubi and stuff
oh,
at McDonald's or getting like spam and eggs at McDonald's is pretty crazy.
right.
And like spam musubi at the movie theaters was just it hit.
There's a couple Hawaiian places here in Arizona, and I get spam musubi every time. It's not the same; it's pretty close. But when we came back from Iraq, we had an apartment by the Costco, and the L&L there they were voted the best spam musubi on the island. So I got super spoiled. Um, but yeah, dude, spam musubi's the jam.
Yeah, you can have it any time of the day.
Right. And so, Ty was born in Hawaii. So I think he's finally starting to tell, like, oh, where are you from? He's like, well, I'm Hawaiian. Like, what? He's like, no, I was born on Hawaii. I was like, dude, you're not a haole, bro. Like, you were born on the island. Oh, he's so funny. So when we deployed to Iraq, you were the commander's driver, which is a very unique role. Um, what did you learn from being that close to leadership? Because we had two phenomenal commanders in Iraq. Well, we obviously started with Captain Breslin and then ended with Captain Dennis, both of whom were incredible leaders in their own right. But you got a front seat view, right? Like you got to be in there and hear the conversations. Nobody else did.
Yeah. Um, it was different, especially being you know pretty young. Uh, they were they were two totally different leader styles.
Hmm.
Two different ways of thinking. Both great though. Like you said in their own right. Like I think Captain Breslin was at the time was a West Point grad,
Hmm.
and she was very like oriented as far as like this has to get done like this. I get it done like this, and it's like very um uh
Like
very it had
regimented.
right. It had that like structure like of like that West Point structure. Like I could
Hmm.
tell. Um, and then Captain Dennis at the time, Colonel Dennis, who's actually the brigade commander now. Um, he was amazing. Like I, I, I feel bad saying this because I love everybody and all the commanders I've been under, but he's literally like the best. I feel like one of the best officers in the army.
Oh, absolutely.
His command style is amazing, and like he's just a good friend. And I'm proud to call him my friend. Like I
Hmm.
still talk to him to this day. Like he's amazing. And when I got him, it was like totally different. I was like, uh, I think it's because I was used to having like a female commander and then a male commander, and like the
Hmm.
vibe was a lot different. Um, and uh, he tells me to this day, like he's like, you guys, like the squad, like he's like, you guys saved me like that down there, like you guys kept me sane, and you
Hmm.
guys did a lot for me. And like to me, I don't feel like that because I feel like I was just A, doing my job, and B, trying to be a good friend. Um, so and I feel like that's what we all kind of did for each other because I feel like he did the same thing. Like he came in at a time where like we were transitioning, like it was like halfway through the deployment, and it kind of shifted. Um, and I think it was like perfect timing, honestly. Um, but working working with the commanders was I learned a lot as far as um the command level stuff and like what went into the logistics of things and commanding troops, and it was more like what do we need to get done for this squad, or what do we need to get done for this platoon, or like what's pertinent for this AO. And I think working in a platoon or a squad, going out and like working at the IP stations and working with the IA, like you're just thinking about your realm and you're not looking at the whole big picture.
Hmm.
And I think the big picture part of it like really kind of opened my eyes a little bit. I'm like, man, there's a lot more that goes into worrying about what's going on out here than just your lane. Um, and I think the biggest thing was like getting them on their good days and their bad days. Because you didn't know what was gonna happen or what was gonna be said and stuff like that. And like sometimes I knew I should speak up more and like try to lighten the vibe and um maybe kind of get them out of the funk. And then sometimes I knew just to kind of keep my mouth shut and let it be.
Yeah.
Um, and the biggest thing for me was Captain Breslin because she was kind of a hard cookie to crack.
Yeah.
She was very like stoic and um like when you talk to her, she would kind of crack a smile and just kind of be like, okay, like that's cool. She wouldn't really joke around a lot. She would be more kind of like, we got to get this done and this and this and that. And then like when I would get her in the truck and we'd be going somewhere and that'd be like a serious bad day, like I would try to get her to like um open up a little bit. And sometimes I'm like, all right, just let it be because it's not a good day. But I also saw like a lighter side of her. Like she opened up to me a little bit more in the truck, and like we talk about things like more personal things and like life. And I feel like a lot of people in the company didn't get that.
Hmm.
They didn't see that side of her. So like when things would come up and they'd be like, why were you doing this, or why is this going on, or like this and this and that, and I'm like, well, it's because she had some good points on why we're doing this, and then like this is actually a good idea. Um, but yeah, it was, I think, because with Frank it was really easy to like get along with him and vibe and this and that because like we were both guys and like he had a different personality and he was a lot more open. Still serious and like took his job serious and like did a great job, but like it was just more that like guy vibe.
Yeah. And I think you hit it right on the head, man. Like, those are easily the two best commanders I've ever had. And that's not to poo poo on anybody else. Um, Captain Breslin, we are not that successful at that mission if she's not the commander when we leave, because the amount of time, effort, and energy she put into preparedness was phenomenal. Like, you remember, like our mission brief, which is basically 5-paragraph op order. became the standard. Like Colonel Bizaker came down and watched us, and they recorded, and it became the standard across his formation. And she was stoic and she was tough. And I can only imagine, like, as a woman of color in a male dominated field and profession like the military, what she had to deal with, especially like leading people into battle, right? Um, and we're older young men now at this point, so we have kids and we can see the stuff that happens. But that's early 2000s. Certainly wasn't as soft as it is now. And I look
Yeah.
back, she probably had to keep that facade because she felt like she couldn't show vulnerability because that'll be taken as weakness, or she's going to be called emotional or anything. But yeah, she was phenomenal. And like you said, I think the transition happened at the perfect time, and having Captain, now Colonel Dennis, come in was the perfect replacement because he's such a people person.
Yeah.
And like you said, the vibe changed, which was fine. It was 15 months. So that having that personality kind of allowed us to carry through the last 6, 7, 8 months. So they were easily my favorite. I have no problem. I've had great commanders everywhere, but I learned so much from both of them. They're just incredible. And I think Colonel Dennis's change of command is going to be in June next year. So I'm trying to get out there before.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good reason to get out there.
Yeah, I mean, at least now I have a reason to go to Hawaii. So a lot of veterans underestimate how hard transitioning out of the military is. Did you experience that? And if you did, what are some things that you experienced?
I experienced a lot. Um, is this gonna last a couple of days? Because we're gonna need a couple days.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, I'm here for you, man.
So I didn't want to get out. Because as you know, I got divorced, and then I was in SRT for a year. I actually got divorced while I was in SRT, and then I went to basically when my year was up on the team. I had extended to stay on the team, and then they're like, "Oh, you're divorced, and you've been here for more than 4 years. So, like, get out." So I got sent to Stewart, and when I got there, the unit had deployed um, already. So I thought I was going to be on rear D, and they're like, "Oh no, you gotta go get your stuff from CF, and you're gonna do a 2-week field up, and you're going." And I was like, "All right." Um, so like I wanted to stay in after that. Like I was like, you know what? I'm single now. Like I'm on deployment. I can save money. I can do this and that. And like I'm just gonna stay in and like try to jump on any deployment I can get my hands on. Um, and then my brother was kind of talking me out of it, and he's like, "No, just get out. You can stay with me and go to school and this and this and that." And kind of had a back and forth, and I was like, fine. So then I got out, and I was trying to find a job, and it was kind of hard. And then so I did the reserves for a year, and then I went back to school so I can use my GI Bill so I can have some type of stipend and income. And that's when I got huge, man. I just went to the gym all the
Mm-hmm.
time. I was like 230 pounds, like
Wow.
15% body fat, and I just get huge. Um, because I had time on my hands. All I did was go to school and do papers and go to the gym. Um, but I feel like that was the high. Because then it got worse after that. But and I met my wife, my now wife, online before I got out when I was at Stewart, and um, I was trying to meet someone back home, and then so we started talking and started dating as soon as I got back. So we were together this whole time. She was with me through school and with me through no school and with me through no job and then with me with job. And um, the whole time I'm thinking like, all right, because I'm looking at what I did and where I came from. And I'm like, I got 6.5 years in the military. I got 2 deployments under my belt. I got all this experience and this and this and that. And then I'm looking at the places that are like, we hire vets. We do this. We do that. And then I'm applying to places and they're like, not calling me back, or I'm not getting interviews, or I'm not getting a job. And like, And I remember someone was like, "Why don't you just go like work at McDonald's or something?" And it wasn't like a pride thing. Like I'm not working at McDonald's. Like it was more like I don't want to go backwards,
Hmm.
and like I don't want to do something where I'm gonna like I'm not putting like a lot of my skills and efforts into where like that's a that's not. I want to kind of focus on like getting better or like learning more or providing for myself because I mean my wife at the time we were dating and I'm like I can't go work at McDonald's and think I'm going to provide for her in the next few years or something.
Right.
Which who knows? I mean, it could have been a good choice or something at the time, but that I think the biggest thing was when school was over, the stipend stopped, and like real life hit, and I was like, I think I'm going to get a job because I got my degree in healthcare admin, and like I had to do an externship at a cardiology clinic. So I'm like, all right, I got all this experience and this education now, and then I got everything under my belt as far as military experience. I'm like, now I'm gonna be able to get a good job. And
Hmm.
then when that didn't work out, and I'm applying to this hospital and this clinic, and um, I'm not getting calls back or I'm not getting hired. Um, and it's just like, how is this not happening? And I think I was living in San Diego still at the time with my brother, and I was like, something's got to give. Like I feel like you're at that that point break, and you're just like, something's got to give, and nothing's happening. And um, I was on disability for like a year, trying to find a job, and it was rough. Like that's when I fell to my knees, and I was like defeated. Um, and before that, I was drinking quite a bit, and then I was uh, that's when my father-in-law kind of took me under his wing and like took me on a men's retreat, and I was like going to the church with when I was up in LA with my wife at the time because we would see each other on the weekends, and that's when I kind of got more of a relationship with God and started trusting in God more and kind of started getting my mind right. And I feel like getting my mind right helped me kind of get my life right. And um, I think my father-in-law played a big part in um, not only finding God but kind of mentoring me because he felt like I needed that, and I didn't think I needed that at the time, but like having an older mentor kind of pour into you is like clutch.
It's vital. It is absolutely vital.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. And I don't mean to cut you off. It's just something
No,
popped
you're
into
good.
my brain. Um, that's kind of what this book and this podcast are supposed to be. It's, hey, we've been there, we've been through this. It may not be the exact same, but it's similar to Map. And your story you're telling right now, I don't know if you've seen the movie. It's called The Forge. It was on Netflix for a while. It's I think it's the Kendrick brothers. It's a story about a young man who's 19, no father in his life. His mom's raising him, and he's just very irresponsible. He borrows her car while she's at work to go play basketball, but she's like, I need you back at this time so I can get stuff because she runs a hair salon to go pick up product. And he's late, and she's pissed. And she's like, puts an ultimatum, you need to find a job. He ends up going to like the big Planet Fitness of their town. And the gentleman owns the gym, and he starts to mentor him through faith. Right, it's just one of my favorite movies. Um,
I gotta check it out.
yeah, I love it. The Forge, like it's amazing. I love those things. I hate to interrupt because your story's so compelling, but
Oh, you're good.
any chance I can use a parable, Jesus used parables. So that's how I try to make my points across. So listeners, like if you're looking for a movie and you're feeling like this resonates, what Albert's saying resonates with me, like just check that movie out. It's about an hour and a half. It's great. It's cheesy because it's Christian and they're not Hollywood, but the message is incredible. Um,
I gotta check that out.
so you're explaining kind of your struggles, and I love that your father-in-law, another man, um, not only saw an opportunity to step in and help you, but that he took the opportunity, right? Because a lot of us see opportunities and we're unsure of ourselves or our worthiness to take that opportunity, or it looks like it's going to be too much work, so we don't do it. Um, so I think that's incredible. And I love that the thing that kind of, and if I'm reading this right, is that God is what kind of turned you around and pulled you out of, like you said earlier, the debauchery that you were doing. Is that correct?
Yeah, definitely the debauchery and the just my also my mindset, like, um, because I kind of got it's kind of like the struggles you're going through, like finding a job and providing and just like transitioning into like a whole different lifestyle or career change or um whatever it is. Like I feel like the big thing is you go through like these stages, almost like stages of grief. And I didn't see it at the time, but like I kind of like reflected on it a few times, and then I talked to some people about it. But I went through like it was like in the beginning, it was kind of like shock and like disbelief, like how is this happening, or like I don't understand, like how is it, like how, you know what I mean? Like you just sit there like how, and then you go from like shock to just um anger and like frustration, and then you go into like this like I don't care attitude and like numbness, and
Hmm.
then um it was kind of weird because like there was a while where there was a little bit where I kind of like started like moping and like feeling sorry for myself, like this woe is me attitude. And like that's where I kind of, when I got out of it, I was like, what the hell am I doing? Like, why am I sitting here like being a little, you know what I mean? And I'm like, I was just like, when a lot of those things started coming around, like my wife was a big part. Like she was really supportive, and like my father-in-law and my brother was supportive, and um like having a this is going in a different direction, but like having like a really like strong woman in your corner makes like a huge difference.
The person you choose to spend the rest of your life with is the most important decision you're ever going to make.
Heck yeah, man. And
You know,
like,
we were both married early and unfortunately went through divorces.
yeah,
But you and I are very similar in that the wives we have now, and they are just incredible human beings who've seen us where we don't want anybody to see us, and which is struggling and unsure of ourselves. And they are the people that lift us up and nurture us and love us. And man, it's incredible when you are being loved the right way, who you become.
yeah. And uh I told myself this. It's kind of something I quoted, so you're gonna have to quote me next time you say
Yeah, absolutely. All credit.
it. um, but I don't know if it's a quote out there, but I just used to say it to myself. But I was like, the person that you're with, the person that you're with when you have nothing is the person that deserves everything when you're something.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Um, and like I feel like she's seen me through my worst. She was with me when I was a D-bag. She was with me through when I was drinking a lot. She was with me when I didn't have a relationship with God. She was with me when I didn't, I had $7 in my, or $10 or $15 in my bank account. Um, and uh, I think the biggest thing that kept me going was she saw the potential in me,
Hmm.
and she saw what I was capable of. And she wanted to be with me in spite of where I was in life, and like in spite of what I was doing, and in spite of my circumstances. Um, and there's like those things that like made me fall in love with her even more. And then like after she had her kids, like that made me fall in love with her even more. And then just having her like throughout life has like helped me stay on track and helped me like focus. Um, and it was in that transitioning period because she was working at a preschool in LA, and she's the one that got me the job at the preschool, and she's like, look, you can move up here and then figure it out, and at least it's something. And I was like, maybe, it's something I can kind of um get involved in and figure out. I'm like, I don't know too much about kids. um, but yeah, I moved up to LA and I started renting a bedroom from a family friend from church, and at his house, and I was renting that room and working at the preschool for like $13 an hour, which was like nothing, but especially in LA.
Right.
Um, and it wasn't where I wanted to be, but it was definitely like the first step of like this is what I got to grab onto until I figure something out. And she was supportive, and she helped me get that job, and I learned a lot working with kids, and it was crazy, stressful, but definitely a learning experience. And like working with those kids was great, and like seeing them now, like they're like in high school and college, and like because I was working with like third and fourth and fifth graders, like doing after school stuff, and like I'd pick them up from school and everything, and like the little school bus. But yeah, it was crazy. Definitely not where I saw myself, but definitely where I needed to be.
And I love how she says, just come up here at something. Alex Hormozy, he's a big influencer, entrepreneur, very successful man. And he talks about his wife. I think she was his girlfriend at the time, maybe fiance. And he was struggling. He had these ideas and he hadn't really gained any traction. And he gave her an out. He's like, I think you need to leave. Like, I wouldn't hold any fault. I think I'm if this fails, like, he's just not sure of it. And she said, I'll live under a bridge in a cardboard box with you. That's how much I believe in you. And I feel like that's what Danielle was kind of telling you. Just again, another parable, just another way to relate. She's like, I see so much inside of you. Just come be with me. We'll figure it out. We don't need all the superficial stuff. I just need you and I need your heart.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, as you've mentioned, you've experienced some really hard seasons, divorce, career changes, starting over. How did you work through those moments?
I think it was just relying on uh like a support system, like my brother, father-in-law, my wife, and like having good friends in my corner. uh I feel like having the wrong friends in your corner is gonna lead you down the path you don't want to be in.
Mm-hmm.
um and I was kind of like, I was going to the gym a lot, meeting other people, and like they were the type of people that would go be degenerates, and I was like, no, I'm good. I already know where that's going. um but I think getting through divorce was kind of rough. That's when I had my bad season, because that was my ID gaff attitude,
Right.
and I started getting heavy on the alcohol and doing some stupid things I regret. But um, I think that change of pace, getting to Stewart and deploying again, was kind of a good thing, because it kept my mind off of it and it gave me something to do and isolated me, so I wasn't in the States. um, and I just focused on deployment again to kind of give me something to focus on. And then so when I got back and I transitioned out, it was a little bit easier because I had some time to process the divorce. Um, but yeah, when I got out and I met her, when we met online before I got out, I had something to look forward to.
Yeah.
And I feel like after, the divorce and leaving Hawaii and transitioning, and um, having that time on deployment to kind of reflect and keep myself away from like alcohol and doing stupid stuff, which is good, because I felt like that time in Hawaii when I was divorced, before I got to Stewart, it was a bad time, and like it would have got worse if I would have stayed there. Um,
Yeah, because it's the environment, right? You're a product of your environment. If you put a shark into a small aquarium, it won't grow to be the size of a full blown shark. It's going to be the size of a goldfish, right? You have to, like, when a plant isn't growing, you don't take the plant out, you change the soil, you change the environment around it. You feed it, you water, you get it more or less exposure to sunlight. Like, good on you for understanding that where you were, you're just going to keep repeating that cycle of self-destructive behavior.
Mm-hmm.
You talk a lot about going to the gym and staying physically fit. Like, you are a fit dude. You used to run like the wind. Obviously, at one point, you were just a monster, like a Hulk. And a lot of men, especially, identify strength with physical capacity, which is an absolute necessity. But now that you've had some seasons of change and growth, has your definition of strength changed?
Yeah. I feel like strength comes in all different shapes and sizes. It comes in mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Um, and I feel like you have to work on all of those at the same time to be the best version of yourself. Um, I feel like believing God and having a relationship with God and like building that relationship with Him, and then having a good wife in my corner, and having um, you know, being physically fit, and like trying to stay mentally fit, of course, with like going to therapy and stuff like that. Like, it helps. And like, if you're not continually working on it, you're gonna get weak, just like your physical health. Like, if you're not, you know, eating the right stuff, or physically active and like moving and lifting and doing whatever it is you're doing, you're gonna get weak. Um, and if you're not doing that spiritually, emotionally, mentally, you're gonna get weak. And being weak-minded is gonna cause, issues in your life, and being, weak spiritually is gonna cause issues in your life. And I've seen that, like, even when I started my relationship with God, and like, then I stopped kind of, reading the word, and like, I stopped kind of, like, maybe there's like some excuses, like, oh, well, we woke up late today, let's not go to church, or like, oh, we got this going on, or whatever. And you're not in it, and you're not strengthening yourself in it, you're going to get weak. And then you see that pour out, or you see things happening, because you're not where you're at, or you're not where you usually are, mentally, spiritually, and physically. And I'm definitely not perfect. That's definitely not what I'm saying, because I definitely still do struggle with stuff. But I just see myself um at a better place than what I was. And like, it's all about putting in the work. um especially like marriage. It's like marriage, you know what I mean? Like, you don't get married and then everything's good to go,
Mm-hmm.
and you can just, coast. It's You got to work every day. um and the moment you get selfish is the moment it starts to crumble. um
Absolutely. And I try to share this message anytime I can. Second Timothy chapter 1 verse 7 says, God has not given us a spirit of fear and anxiety, but of power, love, and self-discipline. So if you are hearing messages that are not of power and love, that's not God. That's the enemy. And I bring it up because we're in a pretty unique and maybe even turbulent time in modern history with everything that's going around in the world. The revival of faith across the United States, especially with young people, is incredible. But at the same time, there's been the persecution of 20,000 Christians in Nigeria, and there's atrocities all over the world. And being able to be rooted in faith, and if I hate this phrase because people don't understand what it means, if you trust the process, which is what I believe you're talking about. It's not, don't worry about the end, worry about who you become through the journey,
mhm.
right? Appreciate those trials and tribulations because everyone's going to have them. We're all sinners. It doesn't matter. You can't differ. Oh, well, my sin's less than their sin. You know what I mean? Like, sin is sin, bad is bad.
Yeah.
If you are able to accept that, right? Okay, you admit it, like you confess, yep, I'm a bad person. I regret it. I don't want to do it anymore. And then you still have the belief that, you know what, God still loves me. That's powerful. That's transformational.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, Danielle is incredible, just an incredible person. You got two lovely boys, and I hear how you talk about them. It makes my heart swell. I feel like the Grinch, my heart grew 3 times when I hear you do it, when I hear you talk about them. Looking back, what advice would you give to your younger self or even to someone right now as they're getting ready to leave the military?
It would probably definitely be have a support system, um, and have a plan. It's not gonna work the way you want it to. Like the plan's not gonna probably not gonna work out exactly the way you want it to, but having a solid plan. And I know some people say like, "Oh, well, I don't have a plan B because I'm not gonna fail." Like, I don't really believe in that because if you don't have a plan B, then you're gonna be SOL.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like having a good plan before you get out is probably clutch. And there's some. I think it takes me to like work because I work with a lot of younger soldiers now, but um, they're like, "Oh, I'm getting out. This is ridiculous." And I'm like, "All right, well, if you're gonna get out, like, what are you gonna do? Or like, what's your plan?" And then some of them, "I'm just gonna go home and do this." I'm like, "Okay, well, it's not gonna really get you far if you don't. If you're just gonna go home and keep doing the same thing you did before you know, 4 years ago." Um, so I feel like the biggest thing is just having a support system, having a plan, and doing something you love and something that is better than when you're at where you're at now. Because like I said, I didn't really have that plan, and I always have that shoulda, coulda, woulda mentality of I should have just stayed in. I had a job, I had camaraderie, I had a plan. Like I was good at what I did, and I don't know, my career could have gone south or it could have gone better, but um, I think it was. But I think for me, where I was at, I think it was more that security because I was fearful.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I didn't have that plan. But I mean, if people have that plan and they're gonna get out and they're gonna do greater things, and that's great. Like, good on you. But when you're just gonna get out out of spite for the military, or get out out of spite for leadership, or get out out of spite for what you're doing in the military, then and you don't really have a plan, then that's where things kind of um, get hard, and they get hard quick, and it's it can kind of bring you to your knees sometimes. Because let's face it, a lot of the people that are in the military, like, are the younger guys, like, they drink or they do this or they make bad decisions because they're young and dumb, and you just feel like you're hanging out with your friends all the time. But if you're not careful, like, you're gonna go down the slippery slope of drugs or alcoholism or being a degenerate or doing this or marrying some girl you just met at a bar 2 weeks ago because you want benefits. Like, you make dumb decisions, and um, getting out of the military could be a dumb decision if you don't have the right intentions and the right support system and the right mindset. So I feel like having that mindset and having the right intentions and having a support system and having a plan are key.
Well, I agree 100%. And that's kind of like what the frustration that drove me to write the book and then eventually start the podcast was just I retired and I had a plan.
Yeah,
And even as you said at the very beginning, everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Um, support system's huge. Life is it's a team sport. In the Army they call it a battle buddy, in the Navy they call it a swim buddy, the Marines they probably call it a crayon buddy, and the Air Force is probably your coffee buddy. But I don't know what the Space Force would be. I
your
haven't met
star
any.
buddy.
Yes. Yeah, you absolutely cannot do this by yourself. But you also have to be very cognizant about who your circle is. Um,
Yeah,
some people are two-faced and they say they want you to succeed, but they don't. They want you to fail. Um, some people are genuinely interested in you and want your success, but it's rare, right? Um,
Yeah.
And I think you're spot on with the advice, which is have a plan. Because getting out, it's the blind leading the blind. You have people who are still in the military trying to tell you how to get out of the military or what life's going to be like out of the military. Okay,
Yeah.
right? That's like me trying to tell someone what it's like to be over 6 foot. I have no clue. I'm much my center of gravity is about 6 inches lower than that. Um, what does purpose look like for you now? So you've got a really good career going on. You're a husband. You're a dad. Versus when you were a younger man. What does purpose look like for you now?
Um, I kind of get the easy way out because you know, my wife and my kids. So like, that's my purpose. Um, and it's kind of hard because I can't speak from the mindset, or I can't speak from the perspective of someone that would be me turning 40 this year and no kids and no wife, and you just have your career and stuff like that. Because everyone's got their own path as far as um where they're at and what they want to do with their life. Because that plays a huge part in it. Um, so I'm kind of at I think that kind of brings me into where I'm at literally right now, with the government shutdown, and what am I doing as far as the next 15, 20 years? Because we're looking at moving to Texas possibly,
Oh wow.
and because our aunt and uncle were out there, and we've always looked at moving to Texas, and we're like, well, this would be a great time because there's a government shutdown, and I don't know when, there might be one next year.
Mm-hmm.
And there used to be a lot more security in the government than there is now, and I think for me, like, changing career paths right now, about to be 40, I'm at the age where I should be established and coasting and not struggling, or not, you know, changing career paths, but relying on other people to help kind of go to another, move my family to another state and change career paths, and um, not work for the government anymore, which is something I've been doing for the past, you know, 21 years. Or I mean, well, not with the break, but um, like, it's scary. Um,
Oh yeah.
and
Well,
like
I get that. Oh, I'm sorry.
my purpose in that is just kind of like my family's my purpose, and like, if changing career paths and moving to another state to have a better quality of life and have more security in the next 15, 20 years, um, if that's what I got to do, to take care of my family, then that's what I got to do.
Yeah, 100%. And I don't think it's the easy answer. I think it's the right and noble answer. I think there's a lot of people who their purpose is to pad their stats, build up accomplishments, and a look at me resume.
Yeah.
And um, I think it was Harvard Business Review. I read something within the last month that said um, the ages of 35 to 47 right now is the biggest pivot in people's professional careers. Like you said, most people expect to be really locked in on their job, not coasting, and really just they don't want to change careers. But the study showing conversely, most people between 35 and 47, they're realizing something's wrong, something's missing. I need to make a change before it's too late,
Yeah.
and they've gone down too far. I did it. I I fully support it. Because I think you do it for the right reasons. You're
Hmm.
wanting to improve your quality of life and be able to be a good father, husband, and provider.
Yeah.
Um, Dakota Meyer, Medal of Honor recipient, he's known for saying, make the most out of the dash. So he says, on your gravestone, it's going to have 2 dates and a dash. Make the most out of the dash, right? Um, and I think of that in terms of legacy. So what do you want your legacy to be?
Um, I mean, that's crazy because I'm not going to be known by a lot of people. Like, I'm not going to be known by the world, or, my memory is going to fade, once I'm gone, after a generation or two. Uh, I think I want my legacy to just kind of be a positive memory for others when they think of me. Um, I want, I want, even if I just meet someone one time, like I want my legacy to be like everyone that I've encountered has always had a positive interaction with me. Um, and I helped them when I could help them, and I also helped them when I couldn't help them. Um, and I want my kids when they talk about me when I'm gone. I want them to, like, I saw something the other day on social media that was like, um, when you're when someone tells your kids when they're older, you're just like your dad. Are they going to have a positive thought? Or are they going to have a negative thought? And I want that to be my legacy. Like I want my kids to know I love them and to know that I did my best. And um, when at their wedding or on my deathbed or when I'm gone, when they think of me, like I want them to be like, um, I'm proud to be. When someone says you're just like your dad, like I want them to have a smile on their face rather than hang their head. And my legacy is my kids. Because I'm not famous. I'm not, someone that's going to be immortalized in textbooks, but um, it's cheesy and cliche, but especially having boys. I was scared to have boys, but now that I have them, I can't imagine not having them. I wanted a girl just because it'd be really easy for me. Because I'm like, yeah, whatever you want. You want a
Right?
pony?
It's easy. Yes.
Yeah, you want a helicopter? I'll just take out a second mortgage. But having boys, it's like it's hard because I didn't have that growing up um, as a template, so I'm kind of learning with them, and and I just want them to have that in their mind or to share with other people, and be proud of me as a dad, and that they had a dad that they deserved. Um, and that's why providing for them and doing the best that I can for them is always been on the forefront because I didn't have a lot growing up, so like I want them to have what I didn't have. Not spoiling them, but I want them to have a better life than what I had growing up.
Absolutely. And you talk about providing. One thing I've learned recently, um, especially after the divorce, is I became a really good dad. I've always wanted to be a dad, and I know I'm a good dad. Um, but some things came to fruition. I realized I was not a good disciplinarian. That wasn't a role I wanted to play, and I'm fine with that. I own it. Um, but the more I get into the word, and like Ty and Julian are phenomenal. They're great kids. I don't think I needed to really discipline them much more than I did, but that is the role of the father, right? Like not just provider, but disciplinarian. That comes in so many different ways. It doesn't mean beating your kids, people. All right, we're not telling you to run the belt through the loops and just take it leather to skin, but you have to find a way to provide discipline so that consequences have actions. And because an undisciplined child becomes an unruly adult.
Hmm.
And you see that rampant on social media, right? People going crazy. Caitlin was watching a video of a lady getting kicked off a plane and she stripped down buck naked. Like, I guarantee you that child did not hear the word no growing up. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You talked about how you want to be remembered and you said you're not going to be famous. And it reminded me of a quote that Jim Caviezel said, which is, they may not know your name on earth, but they know your name in heaven, right?
yeah,
It is so impossible for us to fathom what God's kingdom looks like. And our only point of reference is earth. And it's super easy to get wrapped up in what we're doing here, with, and want maybe notoriety or fame or riches. But you continue the trend of every single guest I've had where they didn't say they want to be known for money or fame or accomplishments. They wanted their children specifically to know that they were loved. And I love
yeah.
that. So my last question, if a veteran or anyone listening feels like they've lost their footing or they're headed down or continuing down a path that they don't want to be down, what's something you tell them right now to start moving forward, to make a U-turn, and to make a change?
I mean, ultimately, I mean, this isn't going to be everyone's cup of tea, but faith and like finding God is huge. It's key to just not only change your mindset, but your lifestyle, and it can change a lot. It can convict you. It can um, help you see just how you need to not be you. You know what I mean? You need to be different. You need to be more Christ-like. You need to not think how you think. You need to think differently. And like, um, there's a Christian song that says less of me and more of you. And if that's not where people are at, then it's not where they're at. And if at the very least, I would say just um, if you want to not go down the faith-based route, like at least get help um, with a positive group of people that you can trust, and don't be afraid of the stigma of finding help, not only like in the VA or um, like the Wounded Warrior Project or uh, what's the other one? There's a ton.
There's a lot, yeah.
There's so many resources for vets, and everyone's like, don't have that mindset or that pridefulness of I don't need help or I can do it myself, or if I reach out and get help, um, people are gonna think that I can't hack it, which is absolutely not the issue. Um, or in a lot of cases, like, you know, reach out to buddies that you were in the service with that got out, and like pick their brains, and um, don't try to figure all this out on your own. Because I know some people have a lot of family help that they don't really need a lot of other people because they have a great family relationship, which is great. But
Yeah,
guys that don't have that, or women that don't have that family support, find a good group of friends that want to see you succeed or that have the same mindset. Um, and just don't be afraid to reach out to the resources that are out there. Because I know going through counseling helped me a lot with my PTSD, and going through the VA like helped a little bit. But the biggest thing that helped me was my father-in-law that kind of got me into the church, and like being around guys that literally are there that want to see you succeed. So I think that's the biggest thing, is just creating an environment that's gonna help you thrive. Because putting yourself in an environment that's not going to help you thrive is only going to cause chaos. So I think
absolutely.
that's the biggest thing.
Thank you. That's a great answer. Guys, I'm telling you, you cannot do this alone. And you don't
No,
have to do it alone. One, you're not a burden. You'll never be a burden. Now, maybe to some people you are, but they have bigger problems if they can't put themselves aside and say, "Oh, you know what? I understand you're going through a tough time. Let me help you out." Um, one of my old commanders actually called me yesterday, and we were talking um, about this actually, and we mentioned a master sergeant that lost his life, and that master sergeant had called him, and he was driving, and he didn't answer the phone, and he's still devastated to this day because he's like, well, who am I? Why would you want to talk to me? Well, that person wanted to talk to you. So A, you're not alone and don't have to be alone. B, asking for help is not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength, and really it's a necessity.
yeah,
um, Once you've put on the uniform, you're going to be a different person when you get out, whether you did 6 months, a year, or 40 years. It doesn't matter. You're a different person, and the vast majority are going to struggle when that uniform comes off. Not everybody, but most will. So learn to ask for help. Understand there are resources, but no one's going to hand them to you. You have to do a little bit of research, and you have to have um, skin in the game. You have to be proactive.
yeah,
And I 100% agree with you on the faith thing. And guys, like, we're not preaching, but we're also not shying away from the word. God calls us to be disciples. In the book of Matthew, it says, therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, and teaching them. And the book of John, chapter 15 says, if the world hates you, keep in mind that it hated me first. If you belonged to the world, it would love you as its own. As it is, you do not belong to the world, but I have chosen you out of the world. So obviously
Yeah.
I'm getting along in my faith walk. You've been rooted in yours. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. So if you are not on your faith walk and you're still struggling, give it a shot, right?
Yeah.
Not to be sacrilegious, but think about it as car insurance. If you don't believe anything happens after you die, then you have nothing to lose. But what if you're wrong and your soul is up for sale?
Yeah.
And if you don't believe in the word, fine, that's on you. But the worst possible thing that happens is if you do take a leap of faith, is you're proven right and you get to end up in God's kingdom.
It's true. I mean, at the very least, you got nothing to lose.
Right? There's nothing to lose. And we can debate religions. Actually, I can't. I'm totally ignorant. But all I know is that Christianity is the only one that doesn't ask you to fill out a checkbox or check boxes on a piece of paper that says, "Oh, you earned your way here." No. Jesus says, "I am the way, the light. The only way to the kingdom is through me." Right? Every other religion makes you do certain things. All Jesus said is, "Believe in me and follow me and live a good life." So I don't know, dude. Thank you so much for coming on the show. It's so good to hear your voice and talk to you. I'm so happy to hear how things are going. And even though right now I know you're struggling and things are a bit crazy with the shutdown, I know you're strong in your faith and, just pray and we'll pray for you that things will move forward. But I'm so happy for you. I think you provided a lot of information and concrete evidence and experience that people can relate to that will be comforting. Like, okay, I'm not the only one doing this. I'm not the only one who's going to go through this. And if they can do it, then I can too. You're setting an example, and I really appreciate that.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I hope and pray that everyone that's going through this, or they hear this podcast, or they don't hear it and they're just kind of pondering life. Like, I hope they succeed and do better than me, and in turn kind of help others in the process. And I appreciate you having me. I don't feel worthy, like in Wayne's World. I'm not worthy. But yeah, it's definitely good to hear your voice and talk to you, you beautiful specimen of a man.
Oh, you're too kind, sir. No, you are absolutely worthy. It's just been an absolute pleasure having you on, man. I love you, man.
I love you too, brother.
Man, that was a meaningful conversation. You could probably hear it. Albert came into this a little nervous, a little unsure of himself, but that honesty is exactly what made this episode so powerful. Not everyone is willing to openly talk about their struggles, their doubts, the moments when life didn't go the way they expected. Albert did, bro. You did. I am so grateful for the trust you had in me to share your story. What stood out to me the most was his transparency. The difficult stretches after service, the growth he's experienced as a man, a husband, a father, a man of faith, and the way he continues to move forward with humility, even when the path ahead isn't perfectly clear. That kind of vulnerability takes real courage, and it's something a lot of people will connect with. Thank you for listening to the Enduring Mindset podcast. If this episode spoke to you, share it with a friend, a family member, a fellow veteran, or a colleague who might need it. Remember, you are not alone. The world is better with you in it. And if you get a chance, give us a follow on Instagram, X, and Threads at enduring_mindset_enterprise. And you can go to www.enduringmindsetenterprise.com. Take a look at our website. Until next time, onward, forward, fall out.